Innovation. Everyone thinks it's a good idea to try out a new strategy, take a fresh approach, but who's got the time? Who's got the money? And who's got the inclination? Innovation feels like a luxury few can afford when so many priorities compete for funds and attention, especially in areas such as East Manchester, one of the most deprived in the country. But it's here that attempts are being made to stimulate innovation and raise attainment in GCSEs. In this second of 3 programmes, we see how those attempts are progressing and what the teachers involved think of it all.
We're going to have to be given more time, more staffing, more resources.
We continue to follow 2 initiatives, including the first to get underway here in this classroom, where this teacher is wondering if it's all about to prove a lonely waste of time. And we'll be hearing more from education and innovation expert Dr. Paul Sternberg, as he visits the team charged with reviving East Manchester's economic and educational fortunes.
It's not simply about attainment levels or curriculum development, it's also about the role of the school in the wider community.
In East Manchester, signs of regeneration can be seen everywhere. Out of sight are the efforts being made to raise attainment and aspiration in the area's 3 secondary schools. Those efforts are being made in partnership with the new East Manchester education team, which now wants to give them another push by stimulating innovation and boosting GCSE results. It's giving the English, Maths and Science departments in each of the schools a one-off handout of £2,500 to be used to improve GCSE grades. Heads of department have been told they must come up with something they haven't tried before, and they've got to do it quickly if they want to make an impact, because there are now just 3 weeks before the Easter break.
If you inject a sense of urgency, then it actually focuses the mind.
Yeah, I'm sure that does happen, and that's what we wanted to see from this project, to say that you've got this particular time, it's going to be monitored quite rigorously, and you know, what can you come up with? This is your money. What sort of ideas can you come up with, and how are you going to run them?
At Cedarmount High School, the head of English and Media wants to take around 80 pupils out of school for 3 days, despite the implications for the timetable and staffing.
This is bottom line. Your children will be judged on how well they spell, punctuate, and how clear their grammar is.
So you've got to be given priority?
I think as a maths, to a certain extent, in terms of resourcing and staffing and prioritising of the curriculum demands, whether that's timetabling and timing, yeah, I think we do have to.
His idea is to take pupils to the Openshore campus of Manchester College of Art and Technology, or ManCat. He's now got to discuss the details with his head teacher. His priority is getting enough staff. The pupils' main concern, however, is whether they have to wear uniform.
Hi mate, it's only me.
Head teacher Guy Hutchins has tried to stay one step ahead by already talking to ManCat's head of sixth form, Larry Wild.
Uniform. We want them to register as students. Right. They're going to be given a ManCat pass, and they're going to be given all the facilities that a post-16 student would have.
Right. I've already spoken to Larry and said that for those 3 days, I would expect them to be behaving and treated as post-16 students, so they would not be in Cedarmount uniform, but you know, we'll talk through that.
But they must be appropriately dressed. Dress for business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, right, well, at faculty meeting, we've identified the students.
So I'm looking at 4 members of staff and you're going to ask me for 5?
Yes.
Right, okay.
But we can be flexible about that 5th member. It might not be the same member of staff for 3 days. It could be one each day or one for an afternoon.
So yourself, Debbie, Michelle...
and Naomi,
right, with James or Ben.
Would be wonderful.
Right. Have you checked what your timetable is on those?
It's our lightest timetable in terms of English commitment to the classes that remain.
Right, okay. Have you spoken to cover supervisor?
Not yet. I wanted to speak to you first.
Right, okay, so that's my job, thanks. Okay.
But never mind getting the staff, there's doubt about finding the room at ManCat.
I just hope it isn't a split campus. Larry, I've spoken to him briefly on the phone. He is fine. He's just said that we are very busy. You'll just have to come and fit into what we've got. So 4 rooms. I'm sure they'll find it.
We could, if they're of a certain size, we could take 3.
A mile away at St Peter's Roman Catholic High School, pupils are about to learn what new help is on offer to improve their grades in maths. Head of Department Fiona McGarvey needs to press ahead with her plans as soon as possible before she swaps the classroom for the maternity ward.
Right, if you remember last lesson, we were discussing ways on how we could help you improve your grade, and you all came up with lots of really good ideas. Just to let you know that we are actually going to follow through with some of those. So what we're going to be doing is, you're each going to get a revision pack for at home. We're also not going to force you to come to after-school lessons every week, because we know you've got other commitments, but we are going to do drop-in sessions. Flexibility is it's not just me, it's all the maths teachers.
Can you drop into a break, miss?
You what, sorry?
Can you drop into
Yeah.
a break?
If that suits you better, break, yes.
The drop-in sessions are aimed at giving responsibility to pupils to seek the help they need, but equal importance is being attached to involving parents. Fiona has given up on her original idea of inviting parents into school. She's writing a letter to them instead.
Why did you abandon that?
Time really, trying to fit it in, trying to get a convenient time for parents and for the staff that we could launch it to them. So we decided it would be better just to send out a letter asking them to contact us if they had any concerns.
Do you think they will?
Some might. What we have to do is keep a track of, we're going to have to keep a track of who turns up to the sessions, who we think is, you know, by asking some pertinent questions, who's actually doing the stuff at home and who isn't, and then making follow-up phone calls to parents.
Meanwhile, Paul arrives at Mancat to find out if they can provide the rooms and resources he needs. He's offered 2 rooms usually used for teaching childcare.
Will this be sufficient space or do you need more?
I think if we had one more.
I have a room downstairs. I used it last time. It was 109. It's next to the office, and that's very self-contained.
Yeah.
And it's a large room. Of course, it's costing me a fortune to shift them out. I'm having to create things.
Well, that's why we were so chuffed when we got the funding, because it meant that we can come and say, right, how much is it going to cost? Because we've got the money, and we've got the money now. Right. I can pay you later.
A good relationship and the availability of hard cash means the seed amount pupils won't need to be split between sites. Mancat's Openshaw campus can't offer the massage or Reiki that some pupils originally asked for during lunchtime, but it has got a fitness suite.
Would you like me to get them an induction over the 3-day period?
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely. No problem.
Well, again, it's a nice little package. It's, again, this is what happens at college. It's not just about your learning. It's not just about your study. You know, you sign up for things, you get involved in things, and I think, you know, that's part of it that we need to get across to the kids.
It's open to everybody. They've even tried to get me in, like, but I've resisted. I have to keep telling people I'm allergic to it.
Revision packs feature in both the maths and English initiatives. At St Peter's, 100 are being distributed to pupils, but it's hoped they also act as a catalyst for parental involvement.
We've got a revision book which is essentially for the parents to be able to look stuff up if they need to be able to help the child, or for the child to use it to look themselves up. A workbook which is linked to the revision guide, so if they're working in section 1, it links to section 1 in the revision guide.
But no one suggested you should be looking at something more creative, a bit more novel than a study pack and revision drop-ins?
No, which surprised me. But I think the difference is the fact that it's putting the onus onto the child to take ownership of it, as opposed to expecting the teacher to do it for them.
It takes the St Peter's Maths Department just 2 weeks to get its plans in place and open the first drop-in session. 3 sessions will be held during the day, starting at 8 a.m.
They're not exactly queuing up.
No, not at the moment. It's early days, it's just 8 o'clock. So we'll see. Maybe in the next 10-15 minutes.
Minutes later, the first customer is at the door, and it's not long before another teacher on standby is called in to help.
Times M. Now do you get it?
Yeah. I tried to find something that I needed help on, so I prepared for it a whole week.
Really? All week?
To get up early.
So I'm going to write these words down because you can take this away. Yeah?
Sounds more complicated than what it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Worth getting up early for?
Yeah, definitely worth getting up for.
Yeah? Are you going to come back for some more?
Yep, anytime we need help, I know where to go to.
Elevation's up, depression's down. Happy?
Yeah. I've done one of the problems.
I'm sure I'll get stuck sometime else, so I guess I'll have to come back again.
Are the ones that come in search of help the ones that really need it, though?
It's the start for us on this. And I think personalised learning here, where children take responsibility for their own learning, we've got a way to go with it, but we're definitely well on the way here with it, because they do take responsibility for their learning. So the ones that don't turn up, we just keep working on, and we'll get them in class anyway.
After an attendance of 3 at the first drop-in session, Fiona is about to find out how many pupils want to give up their lunchtime.
Are you worried about no one turning up?
No, got enough to get on with if they don't turn up, so...
But just like buses, you wait for ages for 1 to arrive, and then 3 turn up at once. A total of 4 are helped at lunchtime, and the first after-school session attracts another 3 pupils. Fiona leaves for the day with a sense of relief and satisfaction.
So 10 in total?
Yeah, that's 10% of the targeted group, so that's not too bad for the first week of it.
The Cedarmount pupils are out of school and out of uniform for the start of 3 days of English seminars. It's taken just 4 weeks to get everything organised at Mancat's Openshaw campus. Paul did get his 5th member of staff, but only for 1 day. He also managed to soothe other departmental feathers.
I actually went to speak to them all before and I said, look, this is why we need it. This is what we can give to you. So we basically promised to give them Year 11 back, and we'll teach their classes if that's what we need to do. So they've got our time next week. So quid pro quo. And everybody we've approached has been like really positive about that. And bottom line is they said, you know, as long as we get the time back, yeah, it's great.
Dr. Paul Sternberg, who specialises in education and innovation, is giving his assessment of the efforts being made in East Manchester. His conclusion: innovation is the ideal partner for regeneration.
My impression, Russell, is that what you're attempting to do is really embed some type of encourage innovation within the schools to think differently. What the schools seem to have done is they've looked at the relationships. And they've concentrated on the relationships. And I would say the softer issues, such as communications, collaboration, inquiry skills, and an element of risk as well, which is underpinned by this sense of creativity and innovation. And I think that's quite unusual for a regeneration agency to actively encourage that type of innovation within the schools without being too prescriptive. And I think there are lots of lessons, not simply for regeneration agencies and how they can engage with schools throughout the country in this kind of project, but also schools. I think it's very important for schools to recognise that regeneration agencies like the East Manchester Education Team really do have a role to play. It's not simply about attainment levels or curriculum development, it's also about the role of the school in the wider community, and for schools to start seeing regeneration agencies as a catalyst for developing new approaches to teaching and to learning.
Coming up in the 3rd and final episode, find out how it all turned out as we discover the joys and pitfalls of going off-site and whether pupils continue to drop in or drop out.